Hey guys, Lyndon here from Opatsui, and today I just want to share a little bit with you about something that I normally go over in my training sessions, which is the AIDA principle and why it's important, who it really connects with in relation as to the buyer and of course the seller, and to really to have a better appreciation as to how it applies into your business, bringing the two buyer and seller together. So first and foremost, the AIDA principle is really a matter of four simple things. It's really a matter of awareness, interest, desire, and action. It's a matter of bringing certain levels of awareness to your customer, raising their interest, bringing certain levels of awareness about your organization, product, or services to the customer, raising their level of interest, getting them to create such a connection with you and your organization, and of course, then allowing them to make that final decision that we all want, which is called the purchasing decision, that action. So let's start here. So AIDA really identifies with the cognitive stages that a buyer goes through during the decision-making process. So that is the buyer really understanding, okay, you know what, I have a need. And based upon that need, who are the people that I need to be reaching out to? Now that goes across the board, whether it is you're a plumber, you're a mechanic, you're an IT technician, you provide services on different levels. You want to know that you are actually top of mind with your organization, and that is where sometimes the lack of awareness comes in, right? So one of the things that marketers are really supposed to be doing is that, or I should say brands are supposed to be doing, is really working towards creating that connection between the customer and their brand. That's why right now in 2019, branding is so important, imaging is so important, use of social media to stay out there and to have a presence with the customer is really, really so important at present. So let's start with the awareness stage. So awareness really represents the customer's knowledge or lack thereof of your product, service, or solution. And this goes not just in terms of the hardware and software, but of course, it's a matter in relation to events. If it is that you have certain things coming up, whether it is that you're hosting a webinar, whether it is that you have a party that's actually coming up, you're promoting something, even if it comes down to certain things like you're making changes within your organization that may positively or negatively affect your customer, you have to make them aware of what those changes are. So the awareness stage is really a good stage to keep customers abreast, but also make them very familiar as to who you are. What is it that you do? How is it that you actually help solve problems? And there's a good way of letting people know exactly what your value proposition is. Now, there are many different ways that you can go about raising awareness, different channels that you can go about promoting your stuff or pushing your information out there. And we're not going to touch on that in this session, but I want to ask you this right now. Here's a quick exercise. While we're talking about it, think of something customers don't already know that you can share with them, because there's so much information out there about your products and your services in relation to specs, but there's always something that a customer isn't familiar with that I'm more certain that you can share with them. And that's where you start raising the level of awareness. So even if you think that they know certain things already, give them additional information to enhance what it is that they already know. Right? So look at one way that your product, service, or solution can actually make their lives better. Once you consistently keep doing that, you will be raising the level of interest that the customer has in your brand, in your product, or your services. The more you do this, the more they build a familiarity, the more they build a connection with who you are, and they are actually identifying that your product or services adds some level of enhancement in their lifestyle or within their organization. Because this is not just a matter of a B2B type thing, but this is a matter of a B2C as well. So once it is that we are consistent with this, once it is that our messaging is on point in relation to the customer's level of knowledge as to what we do, and it has the right connection to them, what tends to happen is that you start seeing the customer having a favorable disposition as to who you are, what you do, what your brand is, what problems it is that you actually solve. You tend to find them also talking about it and sharing it a little bit more. And that's what you really want. You want the customer to start falling in love, not literally, but then again, sometimes literally, falling in love with what is it that you do and what you represent. Because you want to raise that level of attraction so strong so that when they do start asking for certain things like making inquiries on quotes and everything else, that's where you want your sales team to be ready and armed. And you can have this done through your web portals if it is that you don't have a sales team, or if you have a sales team, you sharpen them up so much that when it's time to really act on turning them over, converting them towards closing, you would be in a better position of having higher conversion rates. The action stage. Now, we just spoke about the desire. You want to create that connection so much that they haven't taken your services as yet, but they're already sort of promoting what is it that, or who you are, because they may not be immediate buyers, but guess what? They can actually share who you are, what you do to other people. And that's the kind of action that you want to get. And of course, you want customers to now take that purchase intention. So if it is that they're shopping around, the first person that they're coming to is you. And of course, you're ready because you want them to do certain things like engage in trials. You want to be able to do demos, samples, and actually make the purchase. And that is really the crux of what AIDA is. So AIDA walks the customer through. AIDA is where the seller does the work that connects with the buyer from the awareness, interest, desire, and action stage. But I want to let you know that there's one more, right? And that one more is on the satisfaction side. And that level of satisfaction goes along the lines like this. Once the customer has gotten exactly what they wanted from you, right? It worked as advertised. You now have a satisfied customer that you can turn into an advocate. You can turn into a promoter. But here's the flip side to that. If it is that this customer did not get as advertised, or they didn't get the value or the level of return that they were excited about, and we've all had buyer's remorse at some point in time in our lives, whether it is when we went to a mechanic, we went to an organization to get particular services, whatever it was, we bought a pair of shoes and the shoes broke, it didn't last as long, that generates buyer's remorse, and those people can become anti-sponsors for you. And the thing is that once we do a good job in understanding as to how satisfied the customer is, we can now work to make sure that this customer doesn't start creating the wrong level of awareness. Because if they're not satisfied, you need to do something to get them satisfied. But you must be able to do your customer service on the back end so that you know exactly where this customer is with their last purchase of you, and also if this customer is happy, you want them to now become good promoters of your product or service, because nonetheless they are going to start their own AIDA, awareness, interest, desire, and action, on your product, service, or solution without your knowing, but you want to know. And some of the ways of doing that is doing things like surveys and stuff like that, but we're going to get into that in different sessions. So really and truly, AIDA principle, what I did was add a S to it, because it's really important that we understand that AIDA is awareness, interest, desire, and action, but we want to also measure satisfaction. Because if we can get those people who are satisfied to start raising their awareness, that's great. And if we can make sure that those people who are not satisfied, we could find a way to make them satisfied to become advocates, we mitigate really early negative awareness, negative AIDA. All right. So I am really hoping that this was of some level of value to you. If it is that I'm not sure as to how you guys do AIDA right now, but however you do AIDA, please feel free to let me know. Reach out to me at any particular point in time. My name is Lyndon. You can catch me on any one of these platforms. Have a great day. Peace.